And so it's changing the whole narrative of news. And there's some amazing examples where you'll have an event that occurs, then you'll have a witness who will Twitter it or photograph it or video it. They'll send that report into a network. That will then become a collective thing. You'll have a bunch of people doing it. And that will change the event in the same way that my fonts have been changed. So there was a great example recently at a conference where the CEO of Facebook was giving a talk, and he was being interviewed, and the audience was twittering away, and the questions were very general and vague and not very tough, and the audience started to get angry, and they started twittering about this and saying, these are not real questions. And so that became the conversation. The mood in the room changed, and eventually someone got up and said, ask some real questions. And the moderator was kind of, so she just sort of said, well, why don't you ask some questions? And handed the microphone to the audience and changed the entire conversation. And then people were hammering this guy and saying, what about privacy and all these things that she wasn't asking? So you're starting to see news events that are unfolding and affecting the very events they're reporting on in real time. Now, that particular example was kind of nerd fest, and so that doesn't happen everywhere, but it could happen tonight, for instance. Hopefully not. So the whole nature of the news story is changing. The narrative of news is changing. But it's not one size fits all. So there's different social networks that are emerging in different countries. So for instance, in the States, a lot of people use MySpace. In Canada, it's more Facebook. Twitter, the example I just gave before, is very popular in Japan, also the States. So the rules are different depending on where you are. So what have we learned in the 3 years that we've been trying to crack this case? Well, a few people are motivated by money. That's not why they do it. You can pay some people and they'll go out and they'll do a story, and it can be of varying quality, but most people are not interested in that. The content is already out there, as I suggested. It's not something you need to go and encourage people to do. And the reward that people are really into is status. And if you make them a featured member on the site, they think that's cool. So the question I always get is, how do you motivate people, right? And the problem with that is that question comes out of the idea that this is a business, and that people are kind of instruments of that business, and in order to get them to do what you want, you need to pay them. But people don't want to be this guy, right? That's not why they're doing it. They don't want to be news people. They want to be these people. They want to have a conversation. So the model for citizen journalism is a conversation. And so for the same reason that you go and have a conversation with someone, that's the reason you're going to contribute to citizen journalism. It's not because you want to be this guy. You want to share your knowledge, you want to learn something, you want to develop a relationship, you want to build community. So I think it's important to sort of think about news as a conversation in the future. So a few other lessons we've learned. Breaking news is search, right? People are always searching for information. That's how the breaking stories sort of exist. And they'll break on the blogosphere in many cases before they'll break in the real news world. Also, don't try and change people's behavior. Don't try and make them into amateur journalists. Rather, tap into their existing behaviors, right? Because people don't walk around thinking they're amateur journalists. They walk around and they take photographs they think are pretty, and they take videos of things that they're interested in, and they have conversations. So that's normal human behavior. And if you can tap into that and you can plug into that behavior, then you'll be able to understand that kind of global collective conversation outside of the newsroom. And also, the thing about any 2.0 application is you generally have no idea how people are going to receive it. There's a site in town called Flickr. Does anyone know Flickr here? Flickr, well known? Okay. Great local success story, Web 2.0 story. Very, very popular website. They started off as a game, and you could do all kinds of things. One of the things you could do is you could put photographs in a shoebox. And after a while, they said, you know what? No one's interested in the game, but everyone's got something in their shoebox. So let's turn this into a photo sharing site. So you just have no idea what people will want to do. And the fact that people all want to share something is counterintuitive in terms of how you sort of expect people to behave. You think that they need an incentive, and that's how they'll act on it. So one of the lessons about 2.0, the Web 2.0 space, is that people are quite different than we expected. And I thought I would just end on this quote because I thought it was funny. Jerry Seinfeld says, "It's amazing the amount of news that happens in the world always fits exactly into a newspaper." And, you know, the New York Times is all the news that's fit to print. It turns out that there's a whole bunch of stuff that they didn't print, and that's on the internet. So get out there and read it. So thank you very much.